Hello everyone, I am the Shardy guy, and I am back with a new video. So, as the title of this video suggests, this video is based around Fernando Alonso, who, unless you are living under a rock, is strongly speculated to return to F1 in 2021 with Renault, taking over the seat of Daniel Ricciardo, whom has gone to McLaren to replace Carlos Sainz, who's gone to Ferrari to replace Sebastian Vettel. This will mark the third time in his career that Fernando Alonso has driven, or third separate stint, I should say, for Fernando Alonso driving with Renault. The first stint brought him great success, brought him 2 championships, multiple wins, and yeah, it couldn't really get much better for him. His second stint, and most recent stint, whilst brought a tiny bit of success, it's all overshadowed by one incident, and it's pretty much one of the biggest talking points of the 2008 season. It's either Lewis Hamilton passing Timo Glock on the final corner to claim the 2008 championship, breaking the hearts of all Brazilian fans, or Spingate and Nelson Piquet Jr. and the incident at the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix. So, I'm going to do something a little bit different with this video. You guys will not be seeing his face. So what I'll be doing is I've compiled a bunch of audio recordings and we'll be playing that rest of the video, and with photos, I guess, for something a little bit different. And if it works, I might see if I can do it again for future videos. So what I'll be going over is slightly the brief details I can, the background information, a little bit of detail on the race, the aftermath, and also, with a benefit of hindsight, could have the championships changed, I guess? Could have the 2008 championship still gone to Hamilton? Could have it gone to Massa? I guess we'll have to wait and see. And now I shall pass over to my audio self for the rest.
What if Fernando Alonso was disqualified from the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix? So, before we get into the main detail of the video, let's go into a little bit of background information. So, for the 2008 season, Fernando Alonso switched from McLaren back to Renault, a team in which he had won 2 previous championships in 2005 and 2006. His reasons for leaving McLaren were well publicised. A couple of the main reasons was, number 1, McLaren's apparent favouritism towards Lewis Hamilton, who at this stage was only into his second season of Formula 1, as well as a small thing called Spygate, which I'll not get into detail in for this video. His teammate for the season was Nelson Piquet Jr., a former GP2 runner-up, and was into his first season of Formula 1 after being a test driver for Renault the previous season. What many people were expecting, and probably even Fernando himself to expect, was for him to pick up where he left off. While sadly this is not the case. Heading into Singapore, Fernando Alonso was a distant 7th in the championship, with only 28 points. He was behind Lewis Hamilton, Felipe Massa, Robert Kubica, Kimi Räikkönen, Nick Heidfeld, and Heikki Kovalainen. Across the season, Fernando Alonso had been fairly inconsistent. However, In 3 of the previous 4 races, Fernando Alonso had finished in 4th place before they headed to the next event, Singapore, which is a new event on the calendar, where they race for not only the first time on a new track, being the Marina Bay Circuit, is also the first time that they race at night. So there are definitely a few eyes on the F1 community. Across the weekend, Fernando Alonso had relatively good pace. So in practice 1, Fernando Alonso was 7th quickest, which I guess you can say is pretty forgivable, because I mean, it's the first time they're racing at night. Or doing racing laps at night. However, in the 2nd and 3rd practice session, Fernando Alonso was the quickest car. So, I guess you can say they were definitely pacing the car. However, in qualifying, disaster struck. A fuel measurement issue meant Fernando Alonso was unable to set a lap time, so he had to start the race from 15th place, with Nelson Piquet, his teammate, in 16th place. At the start of the race, all looked normal, as Fernando Alonso was slowly moving his way through the field. But on lap 12, Fernando Alonso elected to pit for soft tyres, which then put him towards the back of the field. But then, on lap 14, disaster struck for his teammate. Nelson Piquet turned in turn 17 and hit the wall, which resulted in a safety car, and thus Crashgate was born. For the rest of the race, through raw car speed and good strategy, as well as some of his rivals and cars up front having various errors, Fernando Alonso was able to assume the lead on lap 34 and was able to go on to win the race. And initially, no FIA investigation was initiated, as everyone thought it was just a racing incident. So, we just moved on. Or so we thought. In 2009, after Nelson Piquet Jr. was released from Renault, he alleged that Renault told him to deliberately crash to enhance Fernando Alonso's chance of winning the race. An FIA investigation found Renault charged with conspiracy, and they were eventually found guilty and were actually handed a 2-year suspended disqualification from F1. So, and despite all this being put against him, Fernando Alonso was still allowed to keep his victory. What would have the race results been if Fernando Alonso was disqualified? So, starting from 8th, as the top 8 drivers got points in that season, in 8th place would have been Jenson Button for Honda. In 7th place would have been Kazuki Nakajima of Williams. In 6th place would have been David Coulthard for his final points in F1. Nick Heidfeld would have finished 5th for BMW. Sebastian Vettel would have finished 4th for Toro Rosso. Timo Is That Glock would have ended up on the podium for Toyota. Lewis Hamilton would have finished 2nd for McLaren. And the winner would have been, drumroll please, Nico Rosberg, for what would have been his first victory in F1. Unfortunately for Mr. Rosberg, he'd have to wait until the 2012 Chinese Grand Prix to get his first win. Finally, in this video, we will go over what would the points become. Well, firstly, we will go over if Renault were disqualified for the rest of the season. Lewis Hamilton would have won the championship with 101 points, whilst Massa would have ended up 2nd with 99. If Renault kicked out of the rest of the season, both drivers would have got an extra 3 points. So, I guess you can say, in a parallel universe, the infamous moment of is that Glock would have never happened. Imagine that. One of the most famous quotes in F1 would have never happened if Renault were kicked out of the rest of the season and were disqualified. So, in conclusion, if Renault were disqualified from the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix, not only would have Nico Rosberg won his first Formula 1 race, Lewis Hamilton would have still won the championship, only difference being by 2 points, with Felipe Massa in second, still, back 2 points, regardless of what would have happened, and that famous moment of Lewis Hamilton overtaking Timo Glock around the final corner would have never happened. So in hindsight, are we glad this happened? With the title basically coming down to the wire? Yes. Did Renault do wrong? Yes. Are we hopeful this never happens again? Yes. So, this will wrap up this video. Like, share and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at the Shardy Guy and at AdrianGale1718. Thank you all for watching. See you all in the next video.